What's up YouTube? It's Sion the Don and I am back with another video. And in today's video, we are going to be talking about how only in America, only in the land of the free, good old America, can a 21-year-old black man be killed because he threatened the government's fragile ego. Seriously, plain as day, simple as that. A 21-year-old black man killed, murdered, in cold blood, all for doing what the government should have been doing. All for doing what the government said it's supposed to do, but it doesn't do, literally. So in today's video, we are going to be talking about, but before I even say that, I could not let the month of December go by. I could not let the month of December go by without talking about this, because this is just like, December 4th is an anniversary. It's a day that we should all wear black. It's a day that we should have a moment of silence. But before I even get into that, so yeah, in today's video, we're going to be talking about, first, Fred Hampton. Who is Fred Hampton? If you don't know who Fred Hampton is, I'm going to tell you. Let me get my notes. Why did I take the notes on my phone? And I'm recording with my phone right now. This is my script in my hand that I actually typed out. So give me a moment. Let me see if I can pull up my notes on my laptop. Fred Hampton was a significant leader in the civil rights movement and a revolutionary figure in the fight for black liberation. Fred Hampton was born August 30th, 1948. And from what I can gather from doing my research, his birthplace varies between sources. Some sources say he was born in Chicago. Some say he was born in suburbs of Chicago, such as Summit and or Maywood, Illinois, which is just west of Chicago. At only 19 years old, Fred Hampton became the president of his NAACP Youth Council in 1967. Shortly after, he was recruited by a founder of the Illinois chapter of the Black Panther Party. Hampton joined the Black Panther Party in 1968 and quickly rose to prominence due to his powerful oratory skills, strategic thinking, and ability to organize and mobilize communities. He was focused on addressing systemic inequalities such as police brutality, poverty, and the lack of access to education, healthcare, and employment in black communities. Fred Hampton was very charismatic, and at only 21 years old, he was building and leading the Chicago chapter of the Black Panther Party. But before I get into this, I want you all to understand, right now, it is the 1960s, and racial progress in the US was at a turning point. Activists had won major civil rights victories, and the era of Jim Crow laws came to an end. But at the end of this decade, there were still deep social and economic gaps for black people across the country. Black Americans continued to face high poverty, poor housing, unemployment, and still had little to no political representation. So those disparities, in addition to an increase in brutal police violence, led to uprisings across the country. And also at this time, I want you to keep in mind that Chicago at this time is America's second largest city. But not only is it America's second largest city, but due to decades of discriminatory policies, it is also one of the most segregated. So the Chicago mayor at the time, Richard J. Daley, opposed neighborhood integration. And in the 1950s, the city had begun developing certain neighborhoods, which in return pushed low-income residents out and pushed them into densely packed, high-rise public housing in already overcrowded neighborhoods. Black people were pushed primarily to west and south side of Chicago, while a large Puerto Rican group was in Lincoln Park, and poor white people were concentrated in Uptown. And all of these groups faced similar problems. And in 1969, Fred Hampton led the Panthers towards an unexpected alliance, a coalition of activists working across racial lines against a corrupt city government that had threatened their communities. And this coalition that he was responsible for forming was later known as the Rainbow Coalition, which consisted of the Black Panthers, a Puerto Rican group called the Young Lords, and another group called the Young Patriots, which were largely poor white migrants from Appalachia who moved to Chicago seeking economic opportunities. And Fred Hampton helped these other groups to launch their own social programs, and they also would come together to protest. And this is one of the reasons that I say that the government killed Fred Hampton, because Fred Hampton realized the power in solidarity. He knew that in order to fight racism, you don't fight racism with racism. You fight racism with solidarity, because at the end of the day, we are all one. And when we can come together and unite, that's power right there. And what Fred Hampton and these other group leaders realized were that they were brothers of the struggle, that they were revolutionaries fighting against the capitalist structure. And something that I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with, but I'm going to remind you, Fred Hampton helped initiate and lead the Black Panthers Party free breakfast for school children. That program, he started that program because in Black communities, especially where he was in Chicago, Black kids were going to school hungry, were going to school without food in their stomachs because their families couldn't afford breakfast, because they couldn't afford to put 3 meals per se on the table each day. The initiative fed thousands of children, promoting community self-sufficiency and helping to combat the effects of poverty. This program was a part of the Black Panthers Party's broader effort to provide social services and improve the lives of Black people beyond activism. So the government, they didn't care whether Black kids out here had food on the table or not. They didn't care whether Black kids had all the nutrients and the energy needed to sit in school for 8 hours a day. They didn't. A Black man, a 21-year-old Black man, came up with that ideal and helped lead and initiate it. And in addition to their free breakfast for school children, the Black Panther Party also did a lot of other things, such as free health clinics and community defense initiatives. And another thing that they did that I really liked is that they would be there to make sure that, so let's say a Black person got put over, the Black Panther Party would be there to ensure that the police officer was following rules and laws, and that the Black person knew their rights and knew the laws and were protected from police brutality and protected from being mistreated by the police. So those are all things that Black people and that a Black man helped lead and initiate that was interfering with the system. And that is very powerful. A Black person knowing their laws and holding a white officer accountable. Oh, they didn't like that. They did not like that one bit at all. Fred Hampton's activism and ability to unite different communities made him a target of government surveillance and repression. On December 4th, 1969, Hampton was assassinated in his Chicago home during a raid by the FBI and local police. The raid was carried out under the Counterintelligence Program, a secret FBI operation aimed at surveilling and disrupting civil rights organizations, particularly the Black Panther Party. Hampton was only 21 years old at the time of his death. Mind you, him and his wife were sleeping in their bed at the time. Can you imagine being asleep in your bed and getting shot to death? No, you wouldn't be able to imagine it, because you would be dead. You wouldn't be able to imagine it. Imagine doing good for your community, bringing marginalized groups of people together and implementing good into the streets, and being shot dead. Like, seriously, terrorists get treated better than that. Hello, this is America. This is America, people. This is America. And that's why I was saying earlier that December 4th is a day of remembrance of Fred Hampton's life. And I think every year on December 4th, this is something that needs to be taught in schools. This is something that kids need to know about the life of Fred Hampton and his unethical death. Fred Hampton's work with the Black Panther Party left a lasting impact on the Black community. His ideals about empowerment, unity, and resistance against systemic oppression continue to inspire contemporary movements advocating for Black liberation. His vision of a society where Black people have control over their communities and access to resources that allow them to thrive has influenced countless activists, particularly in the realm of social justice, racial equality, and economic justice. Social programs. Hampton's legacy also lives on through the continuation of community-based programs that focus on meeting the needs of marginalized populations. Many activists today draw inspiration from the Black Panther Party's free breakfast program, health clinics, and educational initiatives. These programs highlighted the importance of addressing immediate needs while also fighting for long-term systemic change. So in closing, I just want to say Fred Hampton's life and efforts show how the fight for Black liberation is not just about protesting injustice, but also about building community and creating lasting change. His vision of a more just and equitable society continues to motivate movements for racial and economic justice, making his legacy enduring and vital in today's struggles for equality. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. All right, y'all, I'm out.